Welcome, Loch Kelly, to A Traveling Lighter. I'm very, very glad that you could join us here today. Um, and I love your tagline, effortless mindfulness. It's like free money. It's really great.
Free money. That's good. I haven't heard that one.
But is it really effortless?
That's good. That's good. Free money. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Iwan. Great to be here with you and everyone else who's joining. Uh, yeah, that interestingly, I'll just say that the effortless, it doesn't mean it takes no effort.
Mm,
It means that what is discovered is there is already a, an awareness that is effortlessly here. And then when we are recognizing that's our primary dimension of consciousness, and then we connect with others and the world, that's the mindfulness, which really just means remembering in some ways, remembering who we are. That's what the word sati, which is the translation of mindfulness. So I take it to be remembering who we've always been. And then the fullness is that effortless awareness is connects to others, the world, and to the effortless awareness that is the same in everyone.
oh, I'm getting shivers. Stop.
We've just begun.
Can I ask, how did you come upon this? I mean, in your journey, if there is such a thing as a
Yes,
journey.
sure. Yes, there is such a thing on one level. One dimension, there's a journey and there's a process, and another dimension, there's just nothing's coming and going. And that's the amazing paradoxical version of non-duality. So I would say, and everyone who's listening, if, as I look back, I can see that I had these glimpses, what I call glimpses or uh, insights or moments of from childhood that something would open up. And uh, I remember in grade school taking a bus to school and looking out the window, and all of a sudden everything was like, oh, it's just going by me like a movie, and then oh, but it's all flowing, oh, but I'm flowing, and oh, we're all just everything's just happening, and there's just couldn't even as a kid put it into words, but some kind of um, just relief and kind of unburdening, and then interconnection, and then just beingness and well-beingness. And then the next thought I had was, oh, I guess this is what adults talk about when they're alone, because it's the most important thing. And then later on, I realized they never talk about this. They should talk about it. So I figured, why don't I start talking about it?
Fantastic.
Make it a make it start the conversation, right?
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
And
So those moments led me to kind of have different experiences. Certainly, I speak about in one of my books the experience I had being an athlete. I happened to be a kind of a natural athlete, and so I would go into this flow consciousness, where I would drop in to my body and feel like I would be optimally performing in the physical world by getting out of my thinking mind and my small self, and yet be fully myself, from a big self or
mm,
nature of mind, and the joy of it being, as the flow research says, Csikszentmihalyi, who's this researcher, talks about these 7 factors of flow, which I then read about later and said, good. You're in the now. There's a timelessness and a here-ness, which isn't even being in the present moment. One of the things I distinguish. You actually can't be in the present moment from definition of dictionary, because present moments come and go, tick tock, tick tock. But the now is the timeless here that is aware of past, present, and future flowing, and is connected to the process of unfolding. So I would enter this zone, and then one of my friends said, "Man, how did you do that?" And I said, "Well, I open my awareness behind my back, then I drop into my body, then I feel like a cat. So then I'm like smiling, like the Cheshire cat, really." And all of a sudden, I was playing ice hockey goalie. Somebody shoots a puck, and I lose it through the legs and feet, and my hand goes up, and it's in my glove. And he was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And they just walked away. So, so then
Hmm.
a senior on the team, I was like a sophomore, 15. He comes to the next practice. He throws me a book. He goes, "Here, kid, read this. It's what I heard you talking about," and it's Zen and the Art of Archery. So it's kind of that being the target and the shooter and the mark are the same. And so that opened up me going, I'll just fast forward eventually to doing a graduate school degree, and then going to Sri Lanka, India, Nepal, and then going up to meet this Tibetan teacher called Toko Urgyen Rinpoche, who I had done these 5-day retreats in 10-day retreats, 21-day retreats in Sri Lanka during a 9-month stay. And then within 10 minutes of this pointing out instruction of this Rinpoche, this Toko Urgyen, he just gave a 5-minute talk and then a little movement of awareness to look back through the one who's here and looking. And all of a sudden I felt it was the same as at the end of a 21-day retreat in 10 minutes. And yet I was open-eyed, fully embodied, laughing, feeling, completely alive and free of that small self. So similar to the kind of flow, rather than just being in a quiet, detached way. I was alive and talking and relating. And so that was, and he actually made this distinction. He said there's two kinds of mindfulness: there's deliberate mindfulness and there's effortless mindfulness. And this is, so I thought, okay, well, I'll take the second.
Yeah, yeah. It's recently been reading about those definitions of mindfulness and how, there are two parts of it in a way. There's the stabilizing the mind, and the function of that is to receive insight. And
Mm.
it seems that insight part seems to have been lost somehow a little
Oh, yeah.
bit in conventional mindfulness, in the kind of attention technology it's become, and emotional regulation. Uh,
Hmm.
and and I think similar to you, coming to our senses is a course that uses applied theater to give these insights, these glimpses of our true nature, rather than focusing our attention all the time, which is
Yeah.
really impossible for most people nowadays in our modern society.
Yes. Yeah.
And
And yeah, so I'll just say that, yeah, a couple of things about that. I mean, yeah, non-dual mindfulness is the other, word I use for effortless mindfulness. No good words. Not once you get into this territory, words are not very good at describing something people have to experience. However, this sense that the insight of insight meditation is, uh, the first move is to calm your body and mind, kind of shamatha, calm abiding. That's the first mindful move. And then to step out and see that things are coming and going, the insight of change, that nothing is solid. And then the insight that there's no separate self. Even the one who was watching the breath, first of all, that subject that could calm by being a meditator or a doer, is now, oh, that's not even solid. There's no, that's not here. So that deliberate mindfulness shows you the inside of who you're not. And then effortless mindfulness shows you the inside of who you are now that you're not that, which is more the awareness based mind. So in Tibetan Buddhism, they don't talk as much about identity or self. They talk about mind. The nature of mind is rigpa, or pure awareness. But then the key that for me that moves on from kind of neo Advaita is that pure awareness isn't the end, and this is not just a movie. This is not a second thing. The next move of this kind of Mahamudra Dzogchen is that awareness is the same taste as what's arising. So that's the word they use, one taste or same taste. The awareness and the aliveness are not two. There's a ultimate reality and relative reality are not two. They're not, the not two means not two. It means they're not the same. They're not one. So that's the other thing is the Advaita often say, well, not two is one. It's like, no, there were words for one in Sanskrit. They have a full vocabulary for that. Not two is both and. It's they also use the word simultaneous mind. So simultaneously awareness and appearance. Now the appearance comes and goes, but it's relatively here. So there's beingness and humanness. The beingness is primary, the awareness is primary, but the relative human aliveness is precious, is a precious human body. It's not a illusion. And then that old kind of central identity is more of a delusion than an illusion.
Mm.
It's really about what lens are you using. So in this non-dual, more Buddhist, and I would say more modern, more contemporary view of both, and that you can look at a lens. If you use the lens, the finest lens, there's nothing. There's no persons, there's no body, but that's one lens. Then you look at another, now you've got energy. Oh my God, it's just changing energy. It's like the quantum field, then you have, particles and waves. Well, is there just the quantum field or the particles? And particles are different than waves, but they're, as one of my physicist friends, I said, well, what is the wave made of? Is it made of energy? He said, no, it's nothing waving. It's not even, and he's this like physicist with his hair sticking up like sideways, and it's nothing waving, like
Yeah.
but all that to say that there's this precious human you know dimension which has the capacity to be seen, and then the psychological level lens, so the energy lens, then the psychology, the personality, it forms these patterns. It's not just thoughts
Mm.
and feelings as separate entities. You can look at it that way. That's kind of a mindful. You could say pure awareness, then you could say energy changing, then you could say, oh, thoughts, feelings, sensation, then psychology. All of a sudden, there's patterns,
Mm.
personas, parts. You call them. These are all the psychological that form into little identities that try to sit in the seat of the self, or that have been repressed, trauma-based memories,
Mm.
but they have their own. They're not just a thought.
Mm.
They're thought, feeling, worldview, age-related memory. So if you can see that and play in the field,
Mm.
it's not that complex
Yeah.
to deal with this, and then you have the physical, and then you have the physical and the other human beings,
Mm.
that there has to be a seeing that, oh, we have the same, the namaste, we have the same beingness and awareness. One of my sayings is to kind of feel the awareness that has your back,
Mm.
that arises as your body, and comes into your personality and looks out of the eyes of your heart to see this other person, that we have kind of suffering and pain and awakeness, that the other suffering, pain, and awakeness, and then they have awareness behind their back.
mm,
So there's this kind of meeting of this sacred circle of life, this infinite and intimate, I
mm.
think is the way to say that. That's my experience. Yeah.
No, beautiful. And I love your expression of it. I mean, what I've heard previously in the podcast is the emptiness and the I am.
Hmm. Yeah.
Would they kind of correspond to your aliveness and awareness?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And emptiness is interesting in that, there's one emptiness that's like our English language emptiness, meaning the cup is empty, means there's nothing, there's absence.
Mm,
Um, or, but even the absence is awake,
mm,
so it's not a void, but it's awake. So there's a knowingness to it. And then the other, definition of emptiness in Buddhism uh, is interdependence.
mm,
So the which I think is such a sounds like like a definition or intellect, but it's like such a good pointer. So there's no such thing as a separate self. There's no such thing as a separate tree. Okay, so there's no such thing as a separate tree. What does that mean? Well, there's no such thing as persons. Okay, but no such thing as a tree. Why? Well, because a tree is not a tree without water, earth, sun,
mm,
air. So that's interdependence or interbeing is what emptiness means.
mm.
It's empty of a separate thingness,
Yeah,
which means not nothing, but interconnected, interbeing, interdependent.
yeah. That was a big point of contention for me. I did a master's in mindfulness at Bangor University many years ago,
Mm,
and it was the first time a master's had been offered anywhere in the subject. So it was a fascinating group of students. They were Buddhist monks, neuroscientists,
mm,
psychiatrists, and it was just such a privilege to be among them, developing these ideas of mindfulness. And one of the arguments I used to have with the Buddhist monks was, no, from non-duality perspective, we don't exist. And they say, no, we're mutually interdependent. And we
right, right.
the way you've explained it there is the best explanation I think I've heard. But
Yeah, because it's again that from that lens,
hmm,
there there is a dimension that doesn't exist.
hmm,
Absolutely. Yeah, because existence means to come out from.
hmm,
That's the word existere, right? To arise from. So the quantum field doesn't exist, but then particles and waves exist. But if you make it a kind of a either or thing, now you've got a new duality. If you just say, well, there's no person, there's nothing, it doesn't exist. Well, then what is this? Well, there's only awareness, everything else is a movie. Okay. I'm counting two things there. I don't know about you, but where's the where's the oneness and where's the emptiness and where's the not two?
yeah,
Because and that's what the Mahamudra and even Kashmir Shaivism, even in Hinduism, the four natural states is waking state, sleep, dream, and then fourth natural state, Turiya, yeah, which is pure awareness. But then there's Turyatita. And Turyatita is awareness that includes all other dimensions
hmm,
as not separate. So even within that Advaita related, uh, there's a there's a there's a more of a map that doesn't deny any of that. My first experience of that, um, just pure awareness. Everything's gone, 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 gone beyond. but then you can't function in the world. It starts to become the the seat of consciousness from which perceptions are being from the human realm, internal and out external, are dancing, are being played out. And the question is, yeah, who are they arising to? That becomes that awareness. But then what's the relationship to it?
Mm.
Becomes you're not a witness separate. So this is where some of the pure awareness, as if you're the witness and you're the sky through which everything's coming and going. Whereas the next move of the Mahamudra style is no, you're more of ocean and wave. The ocean of awareness is arising as a wave of me, the wave of you. There's air and space within it. There's sky above, earth, but it's not other.
Mm.
There's not two.
Yeah. And the word illusion, I've kind of rehabilitated in myself recently, in that
Okay.
it means things aren't how they appear, but the root is the Latin at play, isn't it? Or
Okay.
quid.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
it means
Yeah.
at play, luda.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Then now I'll accept. Now illusion's fine if that's the
Yeah,
definition.
which feels like what you're talking about, that this is at play.
This is a play. It's a play. It's a play of consciousness. Um, that is not. Yeah. It's not a. There's a need that almost that first move of mindfulness or awakening is waking up from. And the thing is, I think that a lot of people then spend time, oh, I woke up from that. That doesn't exist. And there's no self. It keeps looking this way. But if you wake up from and then wake to the awake awareness and then wake as, and then curiously say, well, okay, so what's the relationship now to sensation, vibration, thought, feeling, my body, and the room? Are they, and then you start to feel, oh, they're interconnected. There's not a separation. I'm not witnessing from the pure awareness. Um, I mean, I'll just say that, during the 10 years ago when I was doing more spiritual psychotherapy and teaching, I had like, I don't know, 50 to 70 people who would come to check out their awakening. And often they were what I call stuck in the witness protection program. So, so they would walk in and they would say, there's nobody here named Joe. There's just this awareness. But my partner thinks I'm dissociated and she thinks I'm not able to relate and connect to her anymore. What do you think? And I'm like, we should probably look into this a little bit. And and they would then come back and connect and not lose that, but it's almost like a stage of awakening that you can get caught in that witness protection program, or the the discovery of this amazing dimension of consciousness that is primary, but not but what is the relationship to the sensation, vibration, the beingness to the humanness? That's the thing. That makes all the difference. That allows you to kind of feel like you can heal and find that love, um, essential well-being. This and uh, heal the trauma, the traumas, the everyday trauma that everyone has kept repressed. That I have not met anyone who didn't either try to stay above it, or have to unburden their system. And the best way to unburden it is to discover the our true nature, or this awake consciousness that has the capacity to be with these, the most terrified, the most rageful, the most shame-based uh, parts of us that haven't been allowed to come home. So this is an opportunity. And then when that healing, the willingness to show up for the shadow side, when after you've kind of, rather than, as you were talking about, the progressive path, you kind of try to heal all the negative emotions first to get to the awareness.
Mm.
But, like the Advaita and the direct path, the Buddhist and Taoist and others, you try to wake up to the awareness now, but then are you willing to come back, and really allow this whole play of consciousness to be freed up, so that you really, aren't, so you can be infinite and intimate.
Mm. Mm. And teaching mindfulness in the conventional sense, the 8-week courses, I remember the best feedback generally was, oh, it's not so bad.
Yeah, yeah,
And
because that's the first move, is to, um, non-judgmental. So it's a detached, neutral witness,
mm,
and then most of them deal with, as you were saying, almost like cognitive based. Okay, oh, I'm aware of my thoughts and my feelings. So it's that lens that is a little dry and robotic. It's kind of like, yes, I am aware of my feelings of being very hurt by what that person said, but they're just coming and going, and now they're gone.
mm,
And I guess that's, and it's like, okay, well, that's pretty good. That's better than, I guess it's better than getting completely, obsessed for 5 days with it. But you're not, there's another option to upgrade this whole human, uh, potential.
mm. So using the word mindfulness in the way you talk about this is quite different to maybe other non-duality teachers.
Mm.
Um, and I come from a non-duality influence in teaching it now. Have you found any kind of resistance to people saying, it's not effort, there is effort, and it'll take 30 years, you know, of kind of these basic practices before people are ready to receive insight, or, do you get any kind of kickback
I mean, from which community?
from
From
mindfulness teachers?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a different school,
Mm,
but those schools are kind of known to be different.
mm,
So this Mahamudra Dzogchen, there is a tendency for it to be kind of owned by the Tibetan community, and that has kind of a hierarchy of teaching in general, almost like the Catholic Church did, again, with, you can only get it through the priesthood. But some of my teachers, Toko Urgen, his sons, gave out these teachings and are giving them out now. You have to do some preliminaries, but even when I went, he was like, so Toko Urgen said, was asked, why is he giving this out to anybody who shows up? And he said, well, I've done three-year retreats. So he did 3 of these retreats where, this is like they sleep in boxes meditating. They don't even lie down for a certain period. And then the 3rd year they do the non-dual work, you know. Um, and he did 3 of these, and he said, but when I was 16, my uncle gave me pointing out instructions. And after 3 year retreats, it's no different. My realization is the same.
mm,
So yeah, so this tradition, similar non-dual, is that the awakeness we're seeking is already here within us. doesn't need to be created or developed. There's no, creating of strong meditator needed. Um, and you don't need to stay with that first insight of no self. In fact, the way I went was first, and I encourage it now, is to recognize the awakeness that is interconnected and then look to see whether there's a self once you're resting as the awareness based knowing that is actually able to talk and walk, not just sit and be, but then can optimally function. Then you say, well, where's that the guy who was running the show before? And then you actually go and meet that constellation of consciousness, because yeah, that's kind of the inclusion of some of the neuroscience research I've have been interested in working with, and the psychological, this internal family systems
Mm.
perspective, which treats the parts, that there's a part of us that does have a memory of who we are, what age we are, who's our relatives, what's our phone number. There's brain function, and then there's also kind of a body that's particular, and there's parts of us, just like your heart is a part of you. There's like an ego manager that is a part of you, but there's a few of them. There's like a committee that can sit in there, and they can all be told that, okay, you know what, you can semi-retire. you know we need you to help as part of the team.
Mm.
So when we walk into work or do something that needs to do some functional activity that you know how to do, you can, we'll work together, and that the parts have self, they have awake consciousness within them.
Mm.
Even though they're patterned, they get unburdened. They're usually burdened by the illusion that they need to be in charge. So that's their burden. The burden, once you work with them and return the ego identity to ego function,
Mm.
then they're happy to be. First they can kick up and just like, well, but I've got to keep you safe, and I've got to make sure you don't, social anxiety, and they're like, okay, all right, I don't want to just blurt out, random things, but you could, but trust that there's this kind of flow consciousness. I call it awake, loving flow, is the functional, living, open-eyed uh, way that is literally, to me, is the next stage of human development.
Mm.
So to me, this is a developmental project. I mean, on the ultimate level, there's nothing to develop. It's already fully cannot be. However, the connection and the living in the world internally with neurosis gets cleared up, trauma. Externally, there's relationships that you can start to be you feel more compassion, and you can take courageous action, or you can choose to not do something. You can choose to not be compulsive, relieve an addiction, uh, and take different actions. But it's done from a new self, capital S self, or a new um, nature mind. It's not, there's this kind of group that came into me at that time. They were like, there's nobody here named Bob, and I just go to the grocery store and things end up in my cart. There's no doer. And I said, okay, are the things that end up in your cart, are they dog food but you have no dog? Are they Chinese food and you don't like Chinese food? It's like, no, they just, the things. And okay, well, is it conscious, or like what you gotta help me out here, because are you unconscious? Oh, well, I just don't, there's no. So that absence thing is kind of this, situation like, would you, we have these kinds of tea, which you have peppermint, we have black tea, what kind of, all tea is the same. It's like, okay, well, that's true on one lens of reality. However, what would you like now? No caffeine or caffeine? Check with your body. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, there's this kind of you're using the mirror analogy for awareness, that everything is just an appearance in the mirror, and the mirror is the awareness that isn't touched by any of it. And there's,
Yeah.
in some senses, I feel mindfulness is about shifting awareness to the mirror, the identity, attaching to the mirror the present moment awareness, or whatever, not even just awareness.
Mm. Yeah.
Um,
Although that's actually considered, um, in this kind of 5 level
mm,
of unfolding of awakening, that's considered the third level is the mirror.
mm,
Then the next one is ocean and wave.
mm,
So in the mirror, it's still as if you're the mirror and everything's a reflection.
mm.
So it is kind of like the
There's a
sky,
separation there.
or it's like a sky and everything's like birds and clouds. So those two are in third level. The fourth level is ocean and wave,
Yeah.
so that you're feeling
Uh-huh.
what's arising. You know it's changing. You,
Yeah.
but you're intimate with it. You're not. It's not other. See, that's the
Mm,
thing about
yeah.
non-dual. How dualism is otherness.
Mm, yeah.
So I don't understand. I just continue to not understand why that's called, why even they say non-dual awareness.
Mm,
Non-dual awareness is half of half of it. Non-dual awareness plus aliveness is non-dual,
yeah.
like non-dual appearance, non-dual. Uh, so this, I only say this to help people explore, and feel that there's
Mm,
a potential for,
mm,
what is the fullness, as well as the emptiness.
yeah. I wonder if there's a correspondence to the Sufi
Mm.
stages,
Mm.
the seven valleys and the Conference of the Birds, and looked into that quite a lot and did a version of it.
Oh, wow.
But that this this kind of indifference, the stage of
Yes.
indifference, this like valley of death, if you like, which I
Yeah.
would assume is the emptiness, and then beyond that, there's unity and
Yeah.
this feeling of this is the end. This is, but
Mm.
then there's bewilderment,
Yes. Yes.
and death, and nothing, and poverty. That's the final valley. You just
That's the final valley.
yes.
Oh no.
But in the story, and what's
Yeah.
beautiful about this is that the of the 300,000 birds that go on this journey to find the Simorg,
Mm.
which is this bird of wisdom, they arrive
Yeah.
in the castle, and this is a spoiler now. And the castle is just a pool, a round pool, and they all gather around the pool, and there's only 30 left
Mm.
from these 300,000 birds, and 30 in Persian is Simorg, so they were what they were looking for
Mm.
when they see their own reflection in the pool.
Ah.
Um,
So bewilderment is, I mean, so is it almost like not like, because the brain is always looking for certainty, and it's almost like the willingness to trust that you don't know, not knowing,
mm,
that, or that everything's fresh, and yet it's okay that you're not, because the negativity bias of the brain, it's called the negativity.
mm,
It's always taking worst case scenarios from the past and projecting it into the future to look
mm,
to see for safety of the physical creature, which
mhm,
continues.
yeah,
It just continues in the background, so that it's not a hypervigilance,
mhm,
um, but you don't need to become a monk, or a sadhu. You can live in, as I did for 25 years in New York City
Mm.
and just be on the subway awake. I would sometimes sit on the subway and just like look around. Then I would like drop in and then I would just close my eyes.
Mm.
Then I'd open my eyes and like two people close their eyes and then close my eyes again. I was like, look around. And we're like five people now. And then we'd like smile at each other, like, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
But just that flow, you start to be able to respond to things that are um, seemingly chaotic. You know, that was to me, that was my best training coming back, working in living in New York City, working in outpatient psychiatric settings, traveling on the subway, moving to, because it was like, okay, here we go. Um, you know, in the Dzogchen tradition, the monks who get to a certain level of realization, they're like, their stories are they say, okay, let me go to the village and I'll steal something and then I'll run down the street. Then I'll be caught by the police. They'll beat me up. They'll throw me in jail and I'll see if I can continue to maintain, see if I can still be, I don't know. But, something about the arising for me of, parts or reactivity or I'm tired and things, all of a sudden I'm like, it almost like liberates. It like shows itself as, oh, contracts and then,
Mm.
ooh, oh. And then that IFS style thing is I treat that not as thoughts as if, oh, you're just illusion. I treat it like a kid in kindergarten.
Mm.
Oh, sweetheart, you look scared. You're starting to get like, oh, why is that person doing this? I got to get somewhere. Like, oh, sweetheart, it's okay. And then there's this like dualistic relational, as if there's an internal relation, just the way I'm related to others, but it thinks it's a part, and then you relate to it, and then it unburdens, and then it's just part of you, like your shoulders are part of you or your ears are part of you. So it's not like it never was a you, but it thought it was you, but you're not treating it because it thought it's you. You don't want to treat it like, oh, you're just an illusion or you're, a competitor or you're going to banish you. We're going to fight you. We're going to kill you. We're going to kill the ego.
Mm.
It doesn't exist. It just never was. It's like,
Mm.
no, it keeps coming up. And then there's a,
Mm.
but it's like, I think that you should do, okay, sweetheart, that's okay.
That's lovely. I love
You know,
that.
because
I love the IFS practice where there's a path and you invite
yeah,
all your parts to stand aside and walk down the path
yeah,
and look back and
yeah,
see them there. That's beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So that relationality, and you're not personifying them. They're already personifying themselves,
Mm.
which is what that original illusion, I'll use your language, of thinking there's a self. But even when you look at it, there isn't just one self. There's these voices talking
Mm.
in your head. They're talking, what should I do? I don't know. Why don't you do that? Did you notice that? Look over there. What's that? Oh, that's the thing. Oh, what do you think? What should I say something? No, don't say anything. Like there's not one self anyhow, if you really look.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, it seems like you can treat it like it is. So when you use psychology and neuroscience, you realize, oh, for me, there I can feel the difference between um, the negativity bias, which projects and scans.
Mm.
I can feel the default mode network, which is the daydream. Then the task mode network, which gets too fixated. Then I can feel the parts come up.
Mm.
And then I can feel what are called automatic thoughts, which are basically just the neurons firing
Mm.
that aren't parts, that aren't. And that is one of the first things that some of my practices, the glimpses I get, that you to see and feel automatic thoughts as aliveness and not and undevelop the habit of checking them out.
Mm,
So they go into the background.
mm,
Then there's this peace of mind.
mm,
Then you deal with the primary um, problem solver, which kind of connects to all these, which is, as you know, the one of my glimpses uh, is to ask that problem solver, the one who's listening now, trying to understand what I'm saying, the, trying to solve that problem of understanding or knowing, can that part of you just soften back? And if it softens back, and if the premise is, which is the good use of a map or, um, kind of a working hypothesis of there is a awareness here. So if you have the sense, oh, there is another awareness that isn't the thought-based self. So if that problem solver relaxes, softens back, then what's here and what's aware when there's no problem to solve now. So it's like a background foreground shift, kind of opens. So you're aware of this which is here, and then you can rest as this. And if you just don't go to thought, just let everything come and go. And then as this contentless, aware presence, just feel what's the relationship to vibration, sensation, feelings, thoughts, your body, and the room, if they're not two. So now from here, you can use intentional memory or not. So there's quiet, peace of mind. Then you can be curious what the next thought or part that arises is and just welcome it. And you could use intentional thought. Just remember your phone number. And then as soon as it finishes, just let it go. Don't associate. So now you're in this potential to use functional thought, to intentionally think of something, to find your awareness is open, you're perceiving, you're taking in everything, eyes are open. You can drop down a little bit out of your head, more into your heart space, into your body. Feel your awareness kind of change location by opening up at first to the awareness, then kind of dropping, opening, including, connecting behind you, arising as you. And then you're in this dimension of flow that you could respond, but you're not trying to understand with your thinking mind. I'm kind of talking from my true nature, using language to your language back to your true nature. So you don't have to stop in language. You can just trust that information isn't what's important. It's the talking of the awake loving flow to the awake loving flow so that they become the primary who am I in a functional way that you can talk and walk and create and relate. So what do you say about this?
I love it, Loch. I think I just feel that you span the kind of gulf that needs integrating,
Mm,
and it's so valuable.
mm.
So I want to thank you for bringing those parts of your experience together in your work. I think it's and part of me feels like this is so urgent, but I know it's not.
Yeah.
In one sense, it
No,
is. You know what I mean?
that's right. No, always feel like I'm like on the edge of like, dog. It's like, it's just like, what am I going to do? I just try to offer it, but maybe it's not, I don't know if it's time or it's not time or it's just starting or it's, what it is.
Mhm.
But, without pushing the river, it's important. I mean, I'm willing to keep like you are, kind of create some containers, some trainings.
Mm,
I have an app. I have these online courses, in-person train. To just get people to make these moves of consciousness. It just feels like it can be learned because it's already here.
yeah,
It's already inherent within us.
yeah,
So this is the thing. It's like, okay, so it just is covered over
mm,
by the older habit. So it is kind of like, a child who's dependent on their parents and they need to learn this independence, which unfortunately what happened is then they became independent mental creatures and they developed a self. But now the next stage is like, okay, you did good, you got here. So now aren't you a little exhausted? How about how about let's go forward in a way toward wisdom and love.
mm,
Let's just see if we can untrain and unlearn,
mm,
but keep the functionality that is learned, that
mm,
is already installed. And now just this new operating system, new
mm,
nature of mind can become uh, the primary sense of who we are and how we perceive and how we create and relate.
mm,
Yeah, I mean it's remarkable. Um,
yeah,
it's so amazing to
mm,
that it just I mean I feel like my wife doesn't like this image, but I
mm.
say it's like I keep wanting to say the water's great, come on in. She's like, what are you talking about? She's like, I don't know. It just feels like, yeah, come on, check this out. This is you can live like this. Your
Yeah,
brain can be quiet, your heart can be open.
yeah,
It's really learnable and teachable.
mm, yeah. And I think we're on the same page. I don't like, want to sound like, but there's such resonance with what you're doing, um, in the sense that having taught mindfulness for 20 years, the conventional
Mm.
package, if you like. Thanks to John Kabat-Zinn for originating that. And if you listen to him speaking now, he talks a lot more about non-duality than anything
Yeah.
else. But just feeling that less and less people were developing a practice and this kind of compunction to practice.
Hmm.
And I feel like I'm just giving people another stick to hit themselves with.
Mm.
And then hearing people say, well, I tried mindfulness, but my brain wouldn't stop. And the teacher said, well, maybe mindfulness isn't for you. And I kind of go,
Mm.
no, it's just most of us are naturally mindful until the age of
Yes.
7, and it's simply reconnecting with that innocence.
Yeah.
Um, so that's why I brought the applied theater in,
Mm.
and as I was doing it, I realized something has changed in the human brain since the iPhone was invented, because we all had access to the default mode network, um,
Mm.
but I think there's when people are asked to stop and do nothing without distraction for a while, the default mode network, which hasn't had a chance to express itself, comes
Hmm.
flooding in,
Mm.
and that's a source of anxiety for people who haven't had the practice of self-referencing or daydreaming or whatever,
Or playfulness. Yeah.
playfulness, or which is the source of creativity
Hmm.
in a way. And for me, when I look around and I see these children growing up with no default mode network experience,
Yeah.
and we're trying to get them into the experiencing mode where there's a deficit there that needs addressing first. So for in my course, the first thing we do is give ourselves permission to stop,
Mm.
because of the dopamine addiction. with these infinite scrolling phones. It's just feeding this kind of sense of, well, self-reward from
Yeah.
any kind of task positive
Yeah.
approach,
That's right.
which isn't going to work with
Which
mindfulness.
isn't going to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the default mode by itself, it kind of takes you out. So it's interesting. One of the neuroscience experiments I did at NYU with this guy Zoran Josipovic was he wanted to study, well, what is it like in this type of meditation where you balance the default mode and the task mode?
Mm.
So he had like seven of us, mostly Tibetan monks and myself and a couple others, where we go into this, allow your awareness to be aware of itself behind you, within you, in front of you, so you feel equally inside and out. So that you've got all this creative juice, so you're not repressing the default mode,
Mm.
and you're not, you know, because what he found is that even one-pointed attentional uh, mindfulness represses the default mode.
Mm.
So it calms you, but it takes away your creativity. Default mode is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It has all the spontaneity and creativity, but if it's only one or the other,
Mm.
they both are kind of extreme. So this kind of balancing sounds like a lot of what you're doing.
Yeah. And I have this crazy theory about the default mode network because it is what identified. They identified it initially as a kind of interference pattern.
Mm.
But if you remember the old TV sets, when they weren't in tune, there was just this white noise on the screen. And the
Yeah.
white noise is the echo of the Big Bang. It's the background
Mm.
radiation of the universe.
Mhm.
So maybe
Yeah.
that's what the default mode network is. It's just the background radiation of the universe
Yes. Yeah.
happening in our brain. And don't we
Yeah.
want to welcome that? Be part of
Yeah.
it?
That's right. And that I think it's a matter of it's like who writes history, like who's defining these terms. It's an interference pattern for those who are very, you know, left brain focused, task positive people who get a lot of things done. Then that's interference.
Mm.
But if you're a creative musician or jazz musician or then you're in both all the time.
Yeah.
That's the real magic, playfulness, creativity. Um, and if you have both, so you can be in the world and get something done, and then go play, and then um, it's that. So that balancing default mode, task mode is I have one course called effortless focus and flow, where I kind of take people into awake, loving flow. And so balancing those kind of back front, then balancing left brain, right brain. So you're not just left brain or you're not just right brain. And then balancing head and heart. So you kind of drop down more into your heart mind so that those kind of four directions, of six directions of movement, of consciousness, you're just kind of you're not creating it. You're like untying knots
Mm. Yeah.
of habit.
Unclenching habits, unclenching
Yeah.
patterns of clenching is what we
Yeah.
say in the course. That which are
Yeah.
habits of clenching. Yeah. Yeah. What happens when you go down to the solar plexus, the stomach?
Yeah. Well, solar plexus definitely is like the center of your body. That's where a lot of the martial artists are
Mm.
down in the solar plexus.
Mm.
It's also where most people you find keep a lot of the repressed deep emotions
Mm.
in the solar plexus, and sometimes deeper than that, all the way in next two chakras down, all the way to the genitals and down into the. But that belly. So what I find is if we can open the awareness and then come to the heart mind, now the heart mind can really look and start to include the belly, because that's where a lot of the um, people have rage, or they have terror, or they have shame.
Mm.
Often they've pushed it down, but this heart opens, the awareness opens, then that capacity for that to start coming up, like, I don't like this, it's like, okay, I'm with you. Okay, what don't you like? What do you mean? Nobody's ever listened to me. Okay, I hear you. Nobody's listened to you. So yeah, but you don't understand. Nobody listen. Okay, I'm listening. Okay, what do you have to say? It's like, well, I just don't like that people don't see me. Okay, all right. Well, I'm seeing you. I'm here with you, and I'll be with you, and we're not going anywhere. And so you just start to bring up all that belly full of um, stored emotion. That's where a lot of people, get
Yeah.
digestive problems, and
Mm, mm. Yeah. Yeah. I think in the course we use the Atlas of Emotions that the Dalai
mm,
Lama did with Paul Eckhart, and it fascinates me this element of disgust.
disgust. Yeah,
Yeah, and disgust is just not want get that the signal function is get that away from me,
right, right.
and it's held in the stomach,
Yes, yeah,
and we're so that the normal function of disgust is so sublimated because we don't see our waste, we don't see dead bodies, we don't see poisons,
hmm,
so it's become manifest in the psychology of just disgust with the world as it is, with
yeah,
ourselves as we are, and how that the persistent kind of nausea of modern
yeah,
society, you know.
yeah, yeah. And so, so from one of the things about say a couple of things about IFS, but one of them is that there are no bad parts.
Mm,
That's one of its things. So certainly the disgust, I mean, we tend to be disgusted with disgust, or we're like,
mm, mm,
or the critic, the mean critic, oh, that mean critic. I mean, a lot of like, well, just, tell it to go away, or,
mm,
or, you know, try to be, but to realize, oh, it's trying to help me be safe. It's just burdened with thinking it needs to be too rough, like an army sergeant or something,
mm,
or it's internalized the parents. But the disgust, if you can, yeah, let the disgust come up to the loving presence, the awake loving flow, which is awake consciousness, non-dual presence, um, then it doesn't have to be projected out, like you're saying, because otherwise it's gonna find an expression. And certainly our politics, they're disgusted with this, that, and these people. And um, so that healing of that, that's one of the five emotions discussed. People
mm,
don't even know that one
mm. Yeah,
if you
yeah,
ask people, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the other thing is that similar is the way IFS works, that's similar to like what my method, which is one of my methods, is to have awareness, which is identified. So in mindfulness, you step up, you step back. You're the meditator. First, you're the thinker, learner. Then you use this attention like a flashlight to focus on like your breath,
Mm,
but the focuser is in your head. Then you step out like a floodlight of awareness. So, the second type of awareness. Now you're aware that there is no solid self, but you have this point of view. So now you start to look back through who's behind that point of view. You open it up to this field. So this awareness that is identified can drop. It can come to one of the other senses from thinking, then it can open till it finds this field of already awake awareness, then it looks inside. So the intentionality, so it upgrades attention to what I call local awareness. So local awareness is focusing from the field on an object. It's mindful, no longer using attention like a flashlight from the mind but from this interconnected field of connection. So what they do in IFS is they say, okay, can you find a part of you that's the target part, the upset? Yes, there's a part that's feeling very anxious. Well, where is it located? then you find a location. So you find it, let's say, in your throat. It's right here. Well, where's its boundary? Okay. Now, can you ask that part if it can give you some space so you can be aware of it? So there's the mindful move.
Mm.
So that is like a verbal, relational, same move you make if you're sitting and you're like, okay, now be aware of the thoughts, feelings, sensation. Can you be aware of that? How do you feel toward that? Then I've added this next move, which is assuming the first part is a polarized part or a self-like part. It's actually just mindful. So now the next question is, okay, are you aware of this part that feels anxious? Are you now aware that you're aware of it and you're with it, not being it? Yes. Who's aware of both of those parts? What is it that's aware? Where are you aware of both those parts from? And now how do you feel toward these parts from here? So now you've just boom, made those moves, identified, mindful witness, effortless, effortless mindfulness, and wake loving flow.
Mm.
So similar, fairly simple moves of consciousness once they're learned,
Mm.
and once I'm just describing them, but once people feel, oh yes, it's located here, it's not here, it's not here, it's not here, it's here. So then if awareness is everywhere
Mm.
and it's now contracted, or can you ask it to step back so that the awareness is here, or can you ask it to give you more space so you can be aware of it? And then what's aware of both? Now you are the true self, or the, and now how does it feel to be with, this is no longer, you're no longer anxious, but you haven't gotten rid of the part that's anxious. Well, now why are you anxious? Well, I was just worried about this and that. Okay, that makes sense that you'd be worried about that, but I'm here and we can make some other choices. So this is the kind of
Mm.
dance.
Yeah, and it feels very familiar. I mean,
Mm,
it's not some esoteric kind of practice that needs a belief system or anything
right.
like that. And that's such a relief, I think, for people.
Yes, that's the thing. It's not a talking about, there's no one here, there's nothing. You just have to realize it. It's like, okay, let's start with what what you're what's here the most contracted. What was the word you were using?
Clenched.
Contraction.
I use
Clenched.
the
Yeah. The most
clenched
clenched. Where
hand.
are you clenching? Yeah.
Yeah,
Start there. Right.
yeah. And we do this little exercise where you're in pairs. One person's holding their fist, and the other one has to try and get it open in 30
Mm.
seconds. And it's so difficult. It's very difficult to do. And then we say anybody succeed, and like strong people manage it. And then he said, let's try it again. Why don't you just ask? Can you open your hand?
Yeah.
And it's just this immediate willingness to, yeah, doesn't have to be forced. Just
Yeah.
ask it to open.
Yeah. And so that's the thing is, does awareness have intentionality rather than just neutrality, or just can being do? Is there what in IFS they use self, like Hindu self, small self, and then is there self lead? They call it self leadership. So all of a sudden, the awake consciousness is the leader,
Mm.
meaning it can make choices and act and relate to the world where there are still choices. There's still, what kind of tea do you want? You can,
Mm.
do I want black tea or do I want peppermint tea or do I want no tea?
mm,
You can, the self can decide, just check in. Oh, yeah, I don't want, no, it's 4 o'clock. I don't want black tea. I'll have just hot water, but it's led not by, oh, I wonder what they'll think of me if I don't
mm,
have tea. They want me to have tea. I should be, really, accept that, like all the parts are debating. It's like self is like, you're asking me a question? No, hot water's good. So, so that awaken the world is the goal,
yeah,
rather than some insight or some, uh, being a good meditator or um, just having a philosophical um, position that feels good.
yeah. And it's not just the familiarity, or I think you say intimacy of it. It's wonder of wonders. It's benevolent.
Yeah,
How did that come about? We don't cultivate
yeah,
it. It doesn't have to be
yeah,
cultivated. It just is.
yeah. And that, that's where it starts the non-dual, as I'm saying, non-dual, which is basically what others are calling non-dual, which is only half of it,
Mm,
which is the beingness that is cannot be hurt, that's always been here,
yeah.
that is awake, that is doesn't come and go. What is that relationship to what comes and goes? So the mindfulness, they're looking at what comes and goes. There's no self, and the more non-dualists are saying, well, let's look at what doesn't come and go. And but I'm saying like, well, let's see what the not if they're not two. What's that?
Mm,
So what that becomes is then when you meet external and loss or grief in the world, letting your body have that and still stay in the like in the weather of it all. Like the sky is still here, the earth is here, the nothing's getting hurt, but you're still, feeling the love now in its shaking form. But it's able to move through so that it actually makes you feel more tenderhearted,
mm,
in a fully human and a fully divine, way, if you want to use those words. The I think it's so possible. It's really hard, and you both. I think you and I are both trying to figure out what are the vehicles we can help people. What are the kind of exercises or pointers or
mm,
um, paradigms or little containers or
mm,
courses that will just for a group of people that they're good match for,
mm,
but they're going toward the same thing. Like, look, this is already within all of us equally, and it's just pretty, pretty, pretty good if
mm,
you give
mm,
yourself if you, but it's not even on the map of most
mm,
consciousnesses, and then it gets taken away by religion and fundamentalism philosophies, as if you have to believe something or join the club or
mm,
get it intellectually, then I'll be okay.
mm,
It's not but it's really the felt sense of the consciousness as it comes alive and um, meets the pleasant and unpleasant, right? So that's where you're not watching it from the detached mindful witness. You're like in it, but then you just start to realize the capacity is so big that pleasant pleasant is just going like first it's like and then you woo, then you feel like then it just it's just like it's bliss. It's kind of a bliss, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant.
mm,
But it's like sometimes I say it's not like the most intense. When people say bliss, they think of bliss in the body, But if you took that most intense bliss and then you just spread it out throughout the universe,
Mm.
very thin, but
Yeah. Oh, it's. I know it's been
yeah.
a delight, Block, but I just
Yes.
wanted to give you some space to not advertise, but let people know
Mhm.
because I know you're coming to London next month, aren't you?
Ah, yes. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I'm coming to London. For those, if you hear that, that will be on Saturday, the 12th, and you can find it on my website. A lot of things are on my website, lochkelly.org, Lochkelly. Um, and I have, one of the easiest introductions, if this is of interest to you, is the app. If you don't mind apps, but it's a meditation app that has 100 or so glimpses, some talks, some things. But the glimpses are these, short 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute doorways that I've kind of use different people have different obstacles, different easy ways in. So physical, mental, emotional, doors, ears, eyes, but they can give you a set of pointers to taste what this is we're talking about. And then I have more online courses that take you through, okay, let's go through it. Now let's unpack it. Now let's set it up. Now let's understand it. Now let's go do it again. And very experiential. So everything I do, and then live retreats like in Costa Rica and things
okay.
things like that.
And the app, is it called Free Money or what's it called?
I'm gonna have to change it now. Uh, it's called free money all the time, every day, no matter what. No, it's called it's called Mindful Glimpses.
Oh, great.
Yeah, Mindful Glimpses. So you can find it on my website or on your app store.
Okay. Well, I feel so much richer after this hour with you. Um, Thank you so much for your time. And
Yes, thank you, Iwan. Really wonderful to meet you. I really feel your kindred spirit, and we're doing the same work. So I really support you in everything you're doing.
thank you. I hope we
Yeah.
meet again.
Okay. Take care.
Bye bye.